Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
We'll refer to this as a gut check task. Go home or win. 6 players are out, and the referee is upset. Disputes, and with no room for mistake. Would the Indiana Fever be able to handle the pressure and perform well? They just demonstrated that against the Atlanta Dream in Game 3 of the WNBA playoffs. They took on the challenge head-on and made it to the semifinals for the first time since 2015 because to late-range attacks from Kelsey Mitchell, paint work from Aaliyah Boston, and a game-changing play from Lexie Hull. So, this is the actual query. Was this an isolated incident or the catalyst for the Fever's ascent in the years to follow? Tell us in the comments below your level of pride in the Indiana Fever. Come on.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Imagine going almost 10 years without winning a postseason series. A drought like that doesn't only sit on a stat sheet. It has an impact on a team, its supporters, and each player who plays. Tamika Catchings was still the team's mainstay when the last time the Indiana Fever made it thus far. During her first term as head coach, Stephanie White was coaching from the sidelines while Natasha Howard was only starting her career. In 2015, the league had a totally different appearance. In the present, the Fever entered a third game that involved more than just basketball. It was about putting them to the test once more by history.
You talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
The condition of their roster made the situation much more urgent. Consider this. Caitlin Clark did not participate. Sydney Coulson is unavailable, Sophie Cunningham is out, and Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, and Dyrus Dantas are all listed as injured. That represents a significant loss in scoring ability and expertise. This wasn't just another playoff night. All of a sudden, with a team that needed to use every ounce of talent and chemistry to compete, it was win or lose. No one outside that locker room was putting money on them. In a sense, they benefited from that lack of anticipation. They were forced to engage in combat.
Now, this one on Lexie Hull got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexie Hull's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back, Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
Do you recall the outcome of the first game? Phantom Whistles calls that kill momentum and a technical foul on their coach. It was easy to see the frustration in that building. It was obviously visible even on television. Those players remembered. They took that resentment and used it as fuel. After being denied a fair chance just a few nights prior, it was about reclaiming their reputation.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line and the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Before a single basket was made, the story was delivered in pre-game interviews. Kelsey Mitchell appeared composed and intent, as though she was well aware that she would have to take the blame. Aaliyah Boston spoke softly, but with an infectious confidence, ready for an internal conflict she couldn't avoid. The challenge appeared lopsided from the outside against an Atlanta team that was fully healthy and riding home court momentum. The Gateway Center Arena audience was prepared to put a stop to the Fever streak at that very moment. Here's the problem, though. Indiana wasn't simply gazing down at the fantasy. They were dealing with 6 serious injuries, 10 years of frustration, and the conviction that they simply were unable to succeed. And they made their decision during that storm. They fought instead of being afraid. Which brings up the actual query. Would a few moments from each player be sufficient to create a completely new plot after years of waiting?
To Jones. Throws it up.
No good! Game over! And the Fever are moving on!
The Fever were in the type of predicament that characterizes whole seasons. Late in the third game, down, with the thunderous cheers of less than 4,000 Atlanta supporters, each possession felt more significant than the last. During those last few minutes, a season's worth of altercations, injuries, and uncertainties culminated, and the audience was relishing each second while attempting to silence Indiana. The Fever did not go away. People stepped into the fire one by one as they turned to face the players who had supported them throughout the year.
Just picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell, man,
she is so good.
Indiana was kept alive by Kelsey Mitchell's steady heartbeat. Atlanta knew they needed to load the paint on her, and sending assistance each time she made contact with the ball. Mitchell still scored 24 points, though. The fact that 19 of those points were scored before halftime is noteworthy because it demonstrates the kind of surge that keeps a team afloat when traveling. She found ways to help elsewhere by providing blocks, assists, or whatever else to keep the flow going even as the Dream attempted to block her pathways. Constant defensive pressure did not make scoring simple. Mitchell, however, did not vanish. She just persisted in attacking, and her colleagues took advantage of her unwavering resolve.
Attacking from the outside and now the inside. And Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston. Again, the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the 3-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
Within the paint, Aaliyah Boston was writing her own story. Paired with Bree Jones, she took in the blow after being struck in the low post, yet she never lost her cool. Jones had the size advantage on paper, but Boston countered it with timing, location, and her developing knowledge of where to seal her opponent early.
This is just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific. Paul into Boston.
Beautiful read.
14 points, 12
6 assists, 12 rebounds, and 14 points. That statistic hardly touches the surface of her meaning. In the game, all of the bounces were in traffic. Each assist gave the team the push they needed for one more shot. She wasn't merely surviving. She was leading the center of an undermanned, undersized group with calmness well beyond her years.
Atlanta has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones.
Then there was Natasha Howard, whose worth is evident without the use of flash. Her hustle brought her more belongings. Thing was not supposed to be there. Howard's reach and unrelenting energy returned loose balls that appeared to be headed for the Dream's guards to Indiana's hands.
That Aaliyah Boston has to really body up with Bree Jones in that situation.
Natasha Howard slashing in. Sims got around the Ryan Howard reach to find Natasha Howard.
The court, Odyssey Sims has 7 points, 3 assists. She's looking to attack.
Odyssey Sims contributed something unique. Atlanta was unable to completely control the aggression. She made a right turn at defenders, taking hits, understanding that every burst into the lane offered an opportunity to gain speed. Her versatility and quick-thinking leadership are demonstrated by the 16 points and 8 assists she received from a player who hadn't been on the team the entire season. Sims provided grit and inventiveness to a club that needed poise in dangerous territory.
A complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Ray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
Brianna Turner is also too important to ignore. Although she didn't play in every regular season rotation on, she blocked lanes, contested shots, and read movements before they materialized, making her invaluable this evening. When exhaustion and foul difficulty threatened to ruin their rotations, she took over and gave the Fever a backbone. Here, her reputation as a professional who never fails to be prepared came to reality. Her selflessness allowed others to shine since she accomplished everything without requiring attention.
Reiner posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Penny ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last 4 for Atlanta.
The catalyst was aerial powers. Even though she didn't play much, her brief appearances altered Indiana's mood. Battling through screens, diving to the ground, and bringing movement to possessions. Just by her demeanor, she inspired teammates to perform better. Although it's challenging to gauge hustle outside of the box score, her efforts were evident. On defense, players began to converse loudly. When she was on the floor, the bench became more active and the momentum appeared less brittle.
Another one of the signees because of injuries in the game. As we approach a minute to go, aerial powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Ariel.
What if the shooting night you had the worst turned out to be your best? That was Lexie Hull's reality in third game. She struggled to get anything to fall for the majority of the evening. Jumpers rimmed out. Open looks wouldn't drop, and each mistake seemed to compound the one before it. She was obviously struggling to establish her rhythm offensively, but you could see that she was trying to hide her anger. It must have felt like the court was getting smaller around a player who thrives on making baskets and moving the floor. Nevertheless, she continued to play aggressively on defense, looking for any chance to have an effect. All of the annoyance from that difficult shooting night suddenly had an opportunity to be forgotten with less than 30 seconds remaining. The Fever was a point behind. Every second of the shot clock is filled with tension. Aaliyah Boston helped Kelsey Mitchell make a layup when she cut to the hoop with her typical burst, turning the game into a one-possession contest. The Dream retaliated, but Indiana resisted. Hull received another open look after swinging the ball on the subsequent time down. She also buried a three this time. It was more than simply a shot. It gave her squad vitality and propelled hope into the closing moments.
26% in the first two games.
Good help by Alicia Gray there on Howard.
Hull.
However, the game was far from done. Atlanta had just 7.4 seconds remaining when they set up for an inbound pass. Their time of year relied on that single item. Everything Indiana had worked for could be taken away by the fantasy with a single clean pass and a skillful look. The entire building was expecting the ball to fall into Atlanta's hands safely. Hull read it in a different way in an instant. Anticipating the angle and keeping a watch on her defender's eyes, she sprang forward without hesitation. She made a game-saving theft by catching the ball completely out of the air.
A high ball screen has worked for Kelsey Mitchell, but that time she gives it up to Hull. And how about that shot by Lexie Hull?
Indiana is aware of what lies ahead. They withstood elimination pressure, harsh whistles, and 6 injuries. Then comes everyone compares themselves to this giant. That's what Las Vegas is waiting for. Indiana's triumph.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the releases yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Went beyond simple progress. It seemed like the rebirth of a team that had spent nearly 10 years vying for a single playoff series victory. After 10 years of waiting, the team persisted despite losing 6 important players. The Fever demonstrated that perseverance and faith can overcome challenges that should have caused them to break. They will now play the Las Vegas Aces in the semifinals. Becky Hammond has already issued a warning that, haven't seen the true Aces yet, but Indiana demonstrated tonight that a squad can make history with perseverance, faith, and hard work. Tell us how proud you are of the Indiana Fever in the comment section below. To ensure that you never miss anything, like, subscribe, and enable all notifications. We'll see you in the next video. Click the video on the screen.